All right, welcome to another lesson for IELTS Writing Task 2 from SE Tests. Today we're going to talk about an opinion essay or an agree-disagree essay. So let's get started. Much of the structure for each type of an essay for writing task 2 is similar, but there are some differences you need to pay attention to and learn based on the type of essay. So today we're going to talk about the opinion essay or the agree or disagree. So first we're going to look at an example essay prompt, go over the structure of an essay, go over some details. We're going to learn some vocabulary and some different words, and then have a chance to practice and look at an example essay. So first, an example essay prompt. Education should be free for everyone. Do you agree or disagree with this statement, and to what extent? So if we look at this essay prompt, we have the statement, education should be free for everyone. Now think about your opinion. What do you think? Do you agree with this? Do you disagree? Do you somewhat agree? Do you partly agree? So your essay prompt will look like this, and it will ask you to write 250 words. You will have 40 minutes to work on this task. You are allowed 1 hour for writing task 1 and 2, but you should spend about 40 minutes on writing task 2. So make sure you give reasons and relevant examples from your knowledge or experience. So think about what are some examples that you know about education. Maybe you know some examples of free education or some examples where education should cost money. So this is the overview of the structure for this type of essay. So first we have our introduction, then we have 2 supporting paragraphs and a conclusion. All of writing task 2 essays are like this. So first, for the introduction, we have a paraphrase, the essay prompt, and our thesis statement. So every writing task 2 essay will have a very similar introduction, but now where it varies or where it is different are the supporting paragraphs. So if you can look here, we have our first supporting paragraph and our second supporting paragraph. These are the same. So we have our topic sentence. This is our main idea. Support, so an example or some experience. So if we look back at the essay prompt, you'll see it says give relevant examples or knowledge or experience. So we'll include an example or experience in each paragraph to support our main idea. And then we will explain that example or experience and how it supports our main idea. Finally, the conclusion. So the conclusion is the same for all writing task 2 essays. We'll have a transition, and then we'll restate the thesis or summarize our ideas. All right, now, so let's think about what do you think? Take a minute, pause the video, and think about what do you believe about education and the costs of education. Do you completely agree education should be free? Do you somewhat agree education should be free sometimes? Or completely disagree education should not be free? So take a minute and pause the video and think about your answer. All right, so before we get started looking at the essay, let's look at some example vocabulary and phrases. So here are some examples of stating your opinions. So we have here 8 different example phrases. These are usually at the start of the sentence. So in my opinion, I believe that education should be free because it helps move society forward. Or we have another example. As far as paying for education is concerned, I believe that you should have to pay because it creates competition, which helps develop stronger institutions. My impression is that education should require a cost, whether it be through taxpayer money or private institutions. And finally, most institutions require tuition to attend. However, I believe that education should be free because it helps move society forward. So notice our last example. Our opinion does not come until later because we have the transition, however. So we're showing an opposite statement from the one before. All right, let's look at some examples for arguing your point. So if you provide an example, you can argue your point more clearly. This proves that free education can provide many opportunities for those who cannot afford it. Another example, according to this, it can be argued that financial aid is a way to support students who cannot afford to pay for education. Now we have some examples of adding adverbs. So these can come in the beginning of the sentence or the middle of the sentence. Sometimes you can have an adverb at the end of the sentence in English, but usually in essay writing, it's not very common because it's not clear. So when we speak, we use adverbs at the end of the sentence a lot. But for writing, they usually come at the beginning or the middle. It makes our writing more coherent and more clear. So some examples. Clearly, this is an example of numerous students who are unable to afford a proper education. And then in the middle of the sentence, so before the word true, this is definitely true because there are many students who are unable to attend school because they cannot afford it. Next, deciding whether education should be free is absolutely, so again, in the middle of the sentence, a major challenge to consider. So we have it before a major challenge. And then last, the right to receive an education is substantially more important than earning money. So for example, sentence number 1, we could use any of those adverbs. Obviously, this is an example. Clearly, the one we have, and certainly this is an example. So let's look at some example verbs you can use. So these are 9 different verbs you can use. So I disagree that, I believe that, I have no doubt that, I think that, or it cannot be denied, or as I see it, education has costs. So those are some examples of verbs. Now, before we start, think about how you plan to write your essay. Brainstorm and generate some ideas. And what do you think? Education should be free for everyone? Do you agree or do you disagree? And to what extent? So you're going to write an outline. So use the next slide to help you create your outline. So make an outline based on this slide. So we need our introduction paragraph. So paraphrase the essay prompt, write our thesis statement, and you can review the video from writing an introduction to IELTS Writing Task 2. I will add the link here in this video below, and you can look at that to help you with writing the introduction. Next, think about your supporting paragraph. Remember, you need your topic statement, so your main idea, your example, and an explanation. Finally, try to write the conclusion. So again, if you want to review how to write a conclusion, you can check out the video in the link below. Remember your transition, and you're going to restate or summarize your ideas. All right, so this is what we have for my outline. I have here. You can take a look, pause the video, take a look at the outline. So take a minute, pause the video, review the outline, and then we will go over the example essay. All right, so you had a chance to review the outline. You can see we have our introduction, our paraphrase, and our thesis statement. As you notice, the outline is not the entire essay. It is only parts or ideas that we will talk about. So one example for paragraph 2 is Germany. Another example is maybe a student cannot afford education. So we go on to explain this will not allow society to move forward. And then finally, our conclusion. Now, before we look at the example essay, pause the video and try to write your own essay. Remember to include 250 words, and you can look back at the essay prompt. All right, let's take a look at the essay. Education is a valuable resource and it advances society. If there are certain barriers to receiving education, like costs, many students would lose the opportunity to pursue an education because of this. Therefore, I believe everyone should have access to a free education without limitations. Education is a tool and it advances society, and with free universal access to education, there are no limits to what a country and what a society can obtain. A perfect example of this is Germany, where universities are now tuition free. This has allowed Germany to educate anyone who seeks it and has helped them to become competitive on the global scale. If all countries develop the same philosophy towards education as Germany, I have no doubt that society will benefit. Some may argue that paying for education helps drive competition between institutions and helps to develop stronger schools. However, I completely disagree because I believe this restricts social mobility. Costs to education create another barrier to those in a lower social class. If a student who would like to pursue a degree in higher education but cannot afford the high tuition rates, then he or she will be unable to further their education. On the other hand, if every person of a society is allowed to move forward, then all of society will benefit. In conclusion, education is essential to any society, and by restricting access to it because of tuition limits societal advancements. It is important that we eliminate any sort of barriers to education, including costs. All right, so now let's look at the outline, and we added some extra details so it is exactly what we have in our essay. So you can take a look at the different colors we have here, and we'll look at our essay and we'll see where those are added into the essay. So we have our red and orange for the introduction. We have our paraphrase is red, our thesis statement is orange. Then we have our paragraph. So our topic sentence will be in green, our example in blue, and our explanation in purple. Again, topic sentence green, example in blue, explanation in purple. Finally, our conclusion, so our transition, and then our restated thesis or summary of our ideas. So if we take a look at the essay, we can see where these are from our outline. So we have our thesis statement and we have our restated paraphrase. So with this essay, we actually have our paraphrased essay prompt after our thesis statement. Okay, then we have our main topic and our example. Now, there are some things we need to add to our essay that are not in our outline. This helps to make our ideas more clear. Maybe we need a little bit more of an explanation or a transition between our statements. Again, we can see this in paragraph 2, our topic sentence, and then we need more of an explanation to provide our example and then to go on and explain it. Finally, our transitional statement and our restated ideas in our conclusion. So this is our example essay. Take a moment to pause the video and look at this or compare it to our outline with how the colors line up and how the colors match. So take a moment to pause. All right, so that's it for this lesson. I hope it was helpful. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be sure to click the bell down below so you are notified when we have more videos. All right, see you next time.